version of the Juicebox Heroes podcast. I'm one of your hosts, PK. The president of the Dubon Fan Club is here, Chris. We got Bryles as always, and fellas and ladies, we have a special guest tonight. One of the hosts of the Locked On Astros podcast, along with the Back to the Bullpen podcast, known on X as H-Town Wheelhouse. He's always positive. He's always Stros. Mr. Brett Chancey, how you doing, sir? Thank you for joining us tonight.
No, yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate you guys bringing me in. Like I mentioned when I first hopped on, I felt like I was like, oh my gosh, look, it's back. Baseball's back. I got excited.
I know.
So thank you guys for having me on Juicebox Heroes. I love the name. I love the setup. So you guys got something rocking here.
Yeah, man, it's been fun. It's been fun. I'll have to give the name to tell Mr. President up there. I think he did real great with the name, man. It's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. So thanks again for joining us.
Yes, sir. Definitely. No, yeah. Thanks for having me. And for me, it's always exciting to talk Astros baseball. We talk about on Locked On Astros with Eric. I talk about on Back to the Bullpen, and there's nothing like talking to a guy like Mike Stanton, on a weekly basis, 3-time World Series champion. But, and you guys, the fans, and one of the things I value about these podcasts is we get to give our takes. We get to hear other people's takes. And I think it makes us better observers of the game because we all love the game. And, who wouldn't want to root for the Houston Astros, right, Dodgers fans?
That's right.
Yeah.
No kidding. Hey, look. So I think it was the last episode, the episode before. We had to have some Dodger fan on because he lost the series bet earlier in the season, and so he got to sit with us for an hour while we talked all Astros. And then at the very end, we said, "Hey, look, man, you can't leave the podcast until you have 3 nice things to say about the Astros." Right. That was the bet. And it was like pulling teeth, but he did it. I'll give him credit. He came on, he did his thing. It was a good little way to end the episode, man. But we got a little bit of news. Here is it's off season. There's not really much going on. It's very early on. The main thing is Bregman. What we're gonna do with Bregman. Are they gonna re-sign him? We had talks between Boris and Dana Brown here recently, right? Dana Brown seems positive, but I also think it's very early on in the negotiation process, right? So Chris, I think he saw something on Twitter that I hadn't seen yet about, but Chris is going to explain it because he's the one that saw it. But the way that he explained it to me, it makes sense for Bregman as far as positioning himself for a possible departure.
Right.
Yeah. So pretty much, I've been kind of seeing it for the most part of the day. Was that I guess Bregman has put out, or at least the Bregman camp has put out that he is willing to shift over to second base if needed. Now, again, I've been pretty much on Twitter ever since. Watching stuff as it unfolds, pretty much since the season's been over. So, like we've discussed, a couple of articles that we've seen, and I haven't seen really anything pop up after that. But I've seen a couple. I've seen this report pop up multiple times today. So, and it makes sense because, it frees him up to be eligible for these teams that may already have a stud third baseman. So now, and I think Bregman can play pretty much any infield position, but like I said, it's definitely a chess move just to not rule out the teams that already have a stud third baseman. That's how I see it.
Yeah, so on this front, it makes me wonder. I know Boston's kind of been a team that people have bantered about. I know I've talked about them. Obviously, they've got Devers at third base. They've got David Hamilton at second base. It's a good young player there.
Mm-hmm.
So they have guys that are in place there. I just you want, like, I haven't scoured the teams with the second base need. But would a team like the Cubs come in there? Would I don't even know. Gosh, off the top of my head, I can't think of the New York Mets second baseman. I know Cohen, I believe, is going after Juan Soto. I think the Juan Soto sweepstakes just lies in New York. Let's see, second base. Okay, Luis Angel Acuna. So
yeah,
he's probably not going to one of those two places. This is what I think, guys. And I know you asked me in your mind, so I'm just telling you that I think Bregman stays in Houston. And the reason why I think he stays in Houston is he doesn't come across to me as a guy who's going to have to go out there and get that big, massive deal. Like, and what's funny is I've thought this all along, and I heard Chandler Rome say it today, is that Bregman loves winning. That's
Yeah.
what he's done. I mean, this was the most disappointing year in an Astros uniform. And think about this, guys. Would you want that to be your last game or your last season as a Houston Astro when your legacy really was all the ALCS that you went to? Do you really want to end on that note? And if you go somewhere else, what's the team chemistry like? How are you going to fit in? Are they going to contend? I think he stays here. I just think it makes the most sense. Everybody's like, oh, but Boris is his client. So he's also,
Altuve's.
yeah, he's
We
also
got that done.
Yeah.
Altuve. He's also, he's other guys. I mean, he is Brown. I mean, Hunter Brown's in that camp now. But at the end of the day, Bregman to me stays in Houston hands down.
All right. So
What the-
Bregman stays in. Sorry, bro. Bregman stays in Houston. So then you have the Fromber Tucker side, right? I mean, it's. I don't think unless Crane just ponies up and starts, which I don't see him doing it. I mean, if
No,
you
he's
keep
not.
Bregman, you're losing one or both, right? I mean, there's no way around that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way the offseason went last year, right? I mean, with the exception of Graveman getting hurt, which I think they kind of over over panicked on that, and that's really the only reason why we saw Hader come to Houston. There's nothing they did last year that was explosive or move the needle. So I don't see any reason why if they bring back Bregman that they're going to make an additional move that's going to blow the top off of the MLB hot stove. I think that's going to be their number one guy, and if they get him, they'll
They're done.
probably they'll probably look at money that they can move via trade or whatever to kind of compensate. Because you still have that money from Abreu just sitting on the couch. That money's not going away till next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, again, having all this extra spending money, it's just not there.
Or you can go out and make another move like you did with Kikuchi, which me and Bryles, we were strong proponents of. I mean, we would have never, which is actually the complete opposite. We ate so much crow, which I think a lot of people did, right? But
I think we started every episode eating crow on that
Yeah.
ever since.
I think
the
there was
trade
one
went
person
down.
that actually was for this trade. I can't remember who it was.
yeah,
Oh, it might have been Chris.
There you
Yeah,
go.
no,
does
it
say.
wasn't me.
yeah.
wasn't me.
See.
But
I mean,
so, Bryles, I want to ask you, if you were told by Crane, I'm going to give you the pen, and you can sign Kyle Tucker, you can sign Alex Bregman, or you can sign Framber Valdez, but you can only sign one of them because the other two are gone. Who do you think is the most valuable of those three?
If you give me that, then I'm definitely going to go with Bregman. Hands down. I mean, I think that Tucker's probably got the most potential offensively out of all three of those guys. I think Bregman, though, is pretty much a cornerstone of the entire franchise with Altuve right now. And the other thing I can say is Fromber is a fantastic pitcher. He is, but is he a guy that we want to sign long term to like 5-6 years and put that money out there? I mean, we're not the Yankees, we're not the Dodgers, we're not throwing out contracts like that. So if you say that, then I'm going to say Bregman. The one thing that I did see as kind of an interesting caveat, this was about a couple of weeks ago now, but they were saying that they were possibly looking to move Hader to sign all three of those guys. Now, that sounded like a rumor to me because we just signed him. We just spent a whole bunch of money on him. But I honestly, that's the only way that you would be able to keep 2 or 3 of them is by moving a big contract like that and hoping for the best.
yeah. I don't. I mean, you just signed him for 5 years, 95 million, right? Like to come
Well,
for
I
one
think-
season. I think that I don't know if whether you get like I just don't ever see that happen. It can, it could. I shouldn't say ever, right? But I just don't see that happening.
Well, I think with that, they have I'm pretty sure they've talked to Presley, and they know that there's teams that need closers. And let's be honest, Presley wants to be a closer.
Yeah.
I think if you flip the script and you put in Hader and then you put in Presley against Detroit, I think you have a different series. I think that was the difference in the end. So if Presley can be guaranteed that he goes to a contender for a trade, maybe you can package maybe Myers or maybe Chaz.
Oh, that would be nice.
I like
I'm
that.
just
I
saying,
like
like
that.
that.
offload
I
some of
like
these
that.
guys. You know, at the end of the day, Hater, I think, is here. I think overall, baseball wise, when I talk to baseball guys that are deep into analytics, Matt Collier, who started the Fabio stat, which is used by every major college, every baseball team. This guy's like he is the type of person they make the Moneyball movies after. He just basically said that's a bad contract. And he said Hader's a great closer, but that's a bad contract
Yeah.
because of his decline, because of Minute Maid, because of what he is susceptible to. He's just, it's not favorable for the team in the long run. It looks good up front. It makes you feel good. And I love Hader. I mean, I'm a big fan of Josh Hader, but his stuff overall, I think in the long run is not going to play well at Minute Maid, or what are they going to call it next? The ice box, whatever they're going
I
to
won't
call
say
it.
that.
Um,
It took me like 6 months to come up with this name. I don't know if I can come up with another
Right. I
gem off
mean,
the top of my
keep it,
head.
keep it, because let me tell you, when I hear juice box, I think Houston. I don't think anything else.
Right.
So you
Right.
guys keep it.
The there was talks about, I guess, the Astros. Not there are talks, I guess, about Presley, possibly waiving his no trade.
Right.
So I mean that could actually happen at some kind of trade. I mean, there were talks during the season at the trade deadline about him possibly going to Baltimore, right? I mean, they needed back end help because they had Batista. Batista was out, I think, right? The
Yeah,
big
he's out
dude,
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So they needed bullpen help. So there was always that possibility. The seeing the Presley decline, I guess technically would be a decline, right? Because he was in this new role. I mean, it's kind of tough to watch, because we got used to seeing him be nails, in the previous years, and he wants to close. And it's like these guys that, if I were him, I wouldn't. If I'm going to waive my no trade, obviously I'm going to dictate where I want to go, but I want to go to an instant contender, right? Instant.
Mhm.
I don't have time in my career to go, to Chicago, to the White Sox. Send me to a good squad.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's all about winning. They say
Yeah,
it's about money, but unless you're Juan Soto or Shohei Otani or Aaron Judge or the big, big, big names, if you've got moxie, if you've got experience, you want to keep winning.
yeah,
Bregman's not going to take a 300. If let's just say someone offered him a $350 million contract for Tampa, he is not taking that contract. This is not going to happen. That's not who
yeah.
he is. He's a winner.
And he's been winning since LSU days and before that. That's all he's known. It's all
Yeah,
he's known since he's been in the league.
well, we saw him play. So we had moved to Louisiana for a couple years. First LSU game, we're like, hey, you got to check out this stud shortstop. His name's Alex Bregman. He's the preseason favorite for freshman of the year in the SEC. Like, I got to see this kid play.
Yeah,
Oh my God, this dude balled out.
balls.
And then come to
Yeah,
find out, we saw Aaron Nola pitch, and Aaron Nola and him
yeah.
were roommates. And so I've watched Alex Bregman play every year of his professional career, and he's been on teams that I've cheered for. And so it's not going to settle well with me if I see him in another uniform.
So would if okay, let's play hypothetical, and let's say he leaves, right? Would your allegiance to him, as far as you just like, it'd be hard to see him in another uniform? Is it how different is it from seeing Correa in Twins and Springer in the Blue Jays?
Well, what I know of the Springer deal, there were things that happened behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize. The way the Astros really screwed him on manipulation
Mm-hmm.
for contracts. They manipulated his years of service. Then they actually offered him. A lot of people know this. They actually offered him a contract. Called him to the stadium when he was hitting the cover off the ball, and said they had some new technology look at his eyes, and they basically found out that when he got there, his agent wasn't there, and they were like, "Hey, we want to up the contract we offered you," and he was insulted by that. And I think from that point on, Springer was a goner. So
Wow.
Springer was not staying. And I kind of knew that, and the reason why I speak of that now is because it's years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've got pretty reliable information on that. Then Correa, I honestly thought Correa would end up in New York. Correa came across to me as the big lights guy, the big star, like almost like a Juan Soto type persona. And I
Yeah.
really thought that's what he would do. I didn't think he would stay. So I think early on, I just had resigned the fact that I knew that both those guys were end up going to. Now, I wanted Springer to stay because he was my son's favorite player growing up.
Right.
We actually, we got to do like a meet and greet. My dad got for us. My son got to meet him when he was younger. Really nice guy. When I grew up, I stuttered a ton. And, he's got the whole stuttering thing and he reaches out to kids in that community. And so that was, so there were a lot of things pulling me to Springer, Springer
Right.
Dingers and all that stuff. But I just knew that they were going to be parting ways. Bregman and Altuve are the guys that I think I've always seen
Yeah.
as they're staying.
So it'd be like a Biggio Bagwell
Yeah.
as far as those type of guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, Altuve deserves a statue, and if Bregman stays, I mean, why not get a statue of him going, flying through, or doing this, putting the four.
Yeah,
up.
dude, that would be so awesome.
So
That would be awesome. No, I would love to see Bregman stay for obvious reasons, right? I mean, it would be, the Tucker thing. If you have, it's just a tough decision, and that's why I sit behind this camera on my computer and get to talk about it and not have to make those type of
Can you
decisions.
imagine if we were a GM, guys? I mean, Browse, Chris. I mean, can you imagine?
I'd be fired like in 2 months. I'd have been fired.
Yeah, there's no way.
But the question is, can you put contracts to better than Bagwell? That's the question.
True. That's true.
Yeah. Look, if that's the bar, I think I can do. Hopefully, I can do a little bit better than that. So
yeah, that was brutal. That
was bad.
And that to me is still so dumbfounding because of how much he fell off. And I honestly, there was a point where I felt bad for the guy. I don't know if y'all knew this, but back in 2022 or 2023, when we were in the ALCS, I was at Game 5 in Arlington, and afterwards I went to Buc-ee's in Ennis, I believe, and I saw Jose Abreu there, and that's when the whole Jose Abreu thing went viral about him going to Buc-ee's. Was I posted the picture like immediately, and at first I didn't know it was him because I was like, "There's no way that's Jose Abreu."
Yeah.
He just played a game like an hour ago. How is he here? And then I saw the 3 crosses on his neck. I was like, that's Jose.
That's him.
So I went up to him. Of course, I tried to talk to him. I no habla español, or muy poquito. And so I'm trying to talk to him, and I get a picture with him. I put it up, and then the next day for the press conference, like 15 minutes of it was about him going to Buc-ee's and
what he got.
Oh, dude, that's been my most viral tweet of all time. Like almost.
That's awesome though.
Engagement. So, and that was like after that, I was like, I felt like I kind of knew the guy, which I didn't. Like he didn't know who I was, but I was like, I just felt so bad for him, man. Like he genuinely wanted to help. And, hey, man,
it was tough to watch. I mean, we talked about it a lot. Just like everybody did about.
It was a weight on the city.
Yeah, man.
It was a cloud over the whole.
But it got to the point where if you're, you're watching this daily, it's like you start to feel bad for the dude. Like, oh my God, like you're not even close. You're not even close, man. You know, and it's like you get sent down to West Palm Beach League and like you're not really killing it down there either, homie. It was tough to watch, but like. I was actually kind of surprised, to be honest with you, that they did what they did with them. I kind of figured they were going to let it ride out. I just didn't.
Yeah,
I really don't know Houston to cut ties like that. I mean, I was surprised.
If he wouldn't have had the errors too, though, on defense, I mean, put the batting aside.
Yeah.
But he couldn't even field his position at that point. And like I said, I'm not trying to dog on the guy by any means, but it was definitely time for him to hang him up. I think at that point, and They made a good decision doing it, and the way they did it, I think they gave him a good shot at it. But that was rough.
I can imagine Bagwell walks into the room and everybody's just like,
it's like this guy over here.
Hall of Famer, huh?
Yeah, yeah, no kid. Hey, so what do you think about this? See, we got the Taylor Trammell trade. That was like that's the only thing that's gone on right now. We got sent some cash over. I feel like that's more of like an upside trade. Like, let's just see what this kid has.
Yeah. Catch lightning in a bottle. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why we signed John Singleton. That's why we signed Jason Hayward.
Yeah.
That's why we signed Trey Cabbage. Now Trey Cabbage is gone.
Yep.
I wonder how long his tribute video is going to be. Is it going to be longer than Abraham Toro's? Probably not, because he wasn't a part of a no-hitter. But
Right.
yeah, Astros legend Trey Cabbage is gone. God rest his soul. But he's not dead. Never mind. Bad take. But right now I think they're still at what 38 men on the roster. They did let Urquidy go.
Arcady, yeah. Yep.
Urquidy, that was, but I mean, he's not going to be ready till halfway through next season. And I think what Dana and them are thinking is this last year had so many injuries. Like, they want arms that are serviceable from the beginning.
Mhm.
Mark Mashinsky was just released. He was one of the few minor leaguers I thought they might try to hold on to, but Moose will find a place somewhere else in someone else's system and may get up a couple games here or there. He's a little bit below average, serviceable left-hander. But I'm excited though, because we got guys like Ryan Gusto coming up. We got I mean, Todd Melton. I mean, who knows what spring training is going to bring.
Spring training will be fun.
But yeah, Trammell's just one of those. Look, man, he's available. He was a top pick. Ben Gamble, I don't know what it is about former top prospects in the Mariners organization, but this is the second one we've gotten in a row.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe we can talk them out of Julio Rodriguez and talk about how bad he was last year. Maybe we can just bring him over here. And
Yeah.
Right?
That'd be nice.
Man, boy, you ain't lying on that one.
That's what Dusty Baker wanted.
Well, I mean, I would take it.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be something done with the outfield. I mean, good Lord. I mean,
you're right.
You can't, Jordan, we talked about so many times, it's like, hey, just hit, bud. Just go ahead and hit for us.
Or play first base. That'd be another fantastic idea.
I like the first base. I'm kind of surprised they haven't kind of tried to transition him to first. I know he's got the knees and everything, but I mean, when he's in the left field, I mean, he can field, and but he's got a hose out there too, right? I mean,
he's got
it's just that every now and again he makes a couple awkward movements, and I'm like, oh my God, Jordan, please get up. Like, just please stand up.
Everybody holds their breath. Just
well, if I remember correctly, the very first Round Rock Express game that I covered, they were the Astros AAA. Carlos Correa was on the last game of his rehab assignment. Framber Valdez was pitching, had just been sent down. This was 2019. Kyle Tucker was playing first base. Josh Rojas was in the outfield. I interviewed Josh Rojas, and this was before they traded him in the Greinke trade. And I remember thinking, Kyle Tucker's pretty good at first base. I mean, Kyle Tucker, maybe he's your answer at first. But then again,
that's another hole in the outfield.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you're going to sign Bregman, I think Tucker's gone. But I think, gentlemen, it's harder to replace a cornerstone third baseman than it is a right fielder. No offense, because Kyle Tucker, when he's healthy, is on point.
Yeah.
But what's he going to be when you get to the playoffs, right?
We talk about it every, almost every episode. Going back to last year's, series, you just don't know, And you're right. Like, there's not. I mean, Matt Chapman was the next tier of third basemen before he re-signed with the Giants. I mean, there's nothing out there to replace Bregman. There's nothing out there. You can get an outfield. I mean, you can get outfielders. We just like we got a plethora of first basemen. We can get outfielders, but you have that dominant cornerstone at third base.
Did you guys hear about? Sorry, did you guys hear about the 14-year-old that was supposed to be? He was. Is he from the Dominican or from Cuba? He listed as what it's like he listed as a 14-year-old, but he's actually 18.
So I saw some video. Is he a pitcher? Is he a pitcher?
Yeah, he's a pitcher, and basically they found out that he was lying about his age.
Wow.
And this is a big problem. He actually played in the 12U world game. He was 16. I mean, this kid, in that was the one tournament where the parent goes check his birth certificate where it was a legit request. But I've heard a rumor, and I'm not saying that I know anything about this because I don't. But people have said, do you really think Juan Soto is only 29? You sure he's not 35? I mean, that is the tough thing about these players when they come out of, especially the DR,
Cuba,
they
yeah.
have a history. And so I mean, how old are some of these guys? I thought that was interesting, man. But they caught him in baseball's like they're giving penalties out for that because they're like, you can't be because when you're younger and you sign, you make more money.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
if I'm 21 and I sign, I'm pretty much an old player. But if I can sign at 17, that's where you get the $4 or $5 million, you
Hmm.
know, incentives.
Well, what did like Ronell get when he signed at 30 something? Like got like $10,000, right?
Yeah.
Because he signed as an older player.
We'll
You
see.
know,
Do y'all know he was originally an outfielder? He was
I didn't know
originally
that.
an outfielder,
I didn't
and
know that.
he was originally an outfielder. He he was not good with the bat. And so he transitioned to be a pitcher. And that's when he was kind of, dabbling in baseball. And then he was worked at a car wash. And then, his story, the Astros picked him up and then he became Reno Blanco.
Ronell freaking
So,
Blanco.
Yeah.
yeah. So this is it. MLB is investigating. They recently found a Dominican who had verbally agreed to sign with the Padres for $4 million. Is 5 years older than previously believed.
Dang.
Wow.
5 years.
Didn't they
So
learn the lesson
that's
with Levon Hernandez back in the day?
yeah. Well, here's the thing. It says he was supposed to sign as a 16-year-old international free agent, and he was 21.
Oh man. So what? So
Dude,
what happens to the pot? I mean, is it the? I mean, obviously it's the players' camp that's lying, but I mean, does it fall to the Padres also for not fact
No,
checking?
no,
Or I mean, I wouldn't
because
think so, right?
right, because I mean, that is what they do. I mean, if you know anything about the legality stuff with baseball, like with the Houston Astros, okay, like, you get a player from Cuba, they have one of the most amazing legal teams. So, like, for Jordan's family just to come over here, I mean, there's a lot of legal paperwork. And from
Mhm.
what I know, people I know work for the Astros. They have one of the best legal teams, set of lawyers to help with all the visas, the immigration stuff, and everything. I mean, you've got to be on top of it because
Right.
if you're not, I mean, you could get into a bad deal. So I don't think this is at all on the Padres because he falsified his paperwork.
Yeah.
And if you falsify your paperwork and everybody else around you is complicit, then it's all those people involved. So yeah, the Padres is just unfortunate because he was apparently one of these studs that they were super looking forward to. Him coming up 2027 and being like a star. And well,
Well,
he might eventually make it back, but he got in trouble.
they're probably thinking, well, we just got them. We just took him from the Dodgers, right? That's what they're thinking, and it's like, oh, just
Right?
kidding, just kidding. So, but yeah, man, like that Taylor Trammell thing. We were talking about the release guys. Mumphrey, Seth Martinez. Well, that they got picked up.
Right.
What would your if you're doing your starting lineup, your starting nine right now?
Mm-hmm.
How does your starting nine look? Because I mean, you have the cornerstones. You got second, short, third locked down. Catcher's locked down.
Right.
First is open, right field. Let's just say everything stays the same. Well, if we can't. Third base will be locked down, so we lose right field, right? So now your whole outfield is basically open. Um,
Yeah,
what do you?
man, there's really not a lot of depth right now because your depth pieces on the bench for position players would be Caratini, Kessinger, Dubon, and Trammell. Those are your bench pieces right now that are up on the club. I mean, the next guys after that, I mean, it's a solid drop from there. I mean, it's Cesar Salazar. You have I'm sitting here looking through our guys.
Look, I mean, you mentioned Chris's favorite player. I mean, I know you can see his title underneath. I mean, he
Yeah,
loves Dubon.
yeah, no. Here's the thing, Dubon though, you don't want to anchor him to one position. You need him to play multiple positions. Look, Pedro Leon has a real opportunity this spring training, and we had Rafael Pena and and Elvis Rodriguez, former hitting coaches for the Astros for the Dominican Summer League on Locked on Astros. And Elvis is still high on Pedro Leon. And his whole knock on Pedro Leon was he's not a natural hitter. If he could get rid of the holes in his swing, he's a 5-tool player. He said that this kid was signed for a lot of money because of his potential and he's a stud. And this last year, he turned the corner. That's why I thought Aaron Westlake would be moved up to major league hitting coach, one of the assistant hitting coaches, because he did wonders with that AAA team in Sugarland. And I'm sure Chris knows all about that. But Aaron is a guy that we need to keep our eye on. But Pedro Leon, what do you think? I mean, do you think Pedro Leon could make a case? If I see Pedro Leon in spring training and he's balling out, I'm sorry, Chaz and
Bye.
Jake.
Yeah.
And Jake,
when he's the backup, we're gonna cut ties with one of y'all. And so, what do you think, Chris?
I mean, again, I mean, like I've been a big fan of Pedro Leon for, I want to say, about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I was rooting for him in 2021 to take the job. I mean, but he just couldn't hit. And I like the fact that they finally said, "Hey, we're not going to have you play 17 positions. Just focus on center field."
Yeah.
And every time I saw him down in Sugarland, I mean, he balled out. I mean, and I just think that what we saw, the little bit that we did see when he got called up, was just I just didn't think he got consistent at bats. It was just
Right.
and PK and I and Bryles, we talked about it, how like when Loperfido got called up, and when Pedro Leon got called up, it's like we called him up and then they sat on the bench for a couple games. It's like, man, let's get these kids in, let's see what they got, and then they would play for 2 games and then they would sit for 3 games. I'm like I said, man, I'm rooting coming into the spring training. I mean, I'm hoping Pedro Leon does everything in his power to to unseat either Chaz or Jake Myers. That's what I'm rooting for. I'm hoping that Melton continues to do what he does. And then looking at Bryce Matthews, I think he needs at least another half season down in AAA as far as his bat. So
yeah, there's the grades on him. Like, they are not mega impressed with him right now, from what I understand. There's a lot to be desired, I think, left with Bryce Matthews. I mean, the farm system just isn't very deep. Now, say what you will about the farm system. I mean, pitching. I mean, I can't wait to see Ryan Gusto. But in my just to kind of put a bow on what you asked me earlier, because I kind of answered the question. I kind of avoided it like a politician or a lawyer. But sorry about that.
No, you're good.
But at third base, if you don't have Bregman, you're gonna peg that for Shea Whitcomb. I know he doesn't wow a lot of people, but there's a lot of people who like his upside. Obviously, you're gonna platoon Singleton and Caratini at first. If it was me, I would bring up Salazar. But on your starting, like your opening day lineup, if it sits the way it is, and let's say we move Bregman out of there, it's gonna be Altuve, Tucker, Alvarez. I think Diaz batting cleanup, and then I would put Jeremy Pena. I'd probably drop him in the lineup. Gosh, it's hard to say because center field, is it going to be Taylor Trammell? Let's say Dubon. Let's just put Dubon in center field. How's that, Chris?
Yes.
I mean, okay.
Chris loves that.
Listen.
Chris
So
loves that
let's
idea.
put Dubon 5th. Let's put if we have Singleton and Caratini, let's put Caratini at first base batting 6th, and then we'll go Shea Whitcomb. And if we still have Chaz, we'll put him in left. And then, gosh, I don't know who else we'd put in there.
You saying Shea Whitcomb just made me want to solidify that whole Bregman deal right now.
Hey, I'm just saying that really is your
that's the
opening
option.
day guy. That is
the
option. Yeah.
And listen, I wanted to give the guy a chance when Bregman was hurt, but man, it was tough to watch him kick the ball around.
It's
really
hard,
tough.
he had one bad game.
But the thing is like we're spoiled by the players that we have.
Well,
and so when we don't have those players in there, you end up seeing how difficult this game really is at that level.
Well, we forget when Bregman first came up, he was 0 for 27.
Yeah,
Yeah,
27
was
at
tough.
bats.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
now he's always had an elite. I mean, he's always been a great fielder. I
Yeah.
mean, I saw him play center field one game for LSU. It was insane, you know.
He's a
So
freaking vacuum. It's amazing to watch him play down there. Like and it makes it look easy. That's what is mind boggling. I mean, look, when I play slow pitch softball or used to, and they hit BBs at me, I mean, I'm laying everything. I mean, I'm not trying
so
to do anything.
Alex went to PK for all his
Yeah.
help, right?
That's right. Look, I gave him all the skills so that he could succeed.
I'm
And
glad
now
you're so unselfish.
And now I do the podcast so I can praise him for his glove skills.
There you go. Good job. Man.
But so but you know, like if you keep Bregman and you're gonna have like a Taylor Trammell type out there, you know. I mean, look, we go back to the very beginning when we talked about how difficult of a decision it is if you got 3 players and Browse, you got to keep one, right? Like what the heck are you doing? You know, it's gonna be interesting to see when all this stuff really starts to pop off, you know, as we get deeper into the off season.
So real quick, because I know we don't have long to go into it, but let's say they sign Bregman and we know Tucker's going to be gone, but you're not going to, and you know Tucker's going to be gone, you know Fromber's going to be gone. Do you try to move Fromber mid-season, or is he too much of your lineup that you kind of shoot yourself in the foot? I mean, don't you want to at least trade one of these guys that gets something back, or do we
have to, right?
Yes, you have to. You have to.
Like, go ahead, Chris. Go.
I'm sorry. Is this? I think you have way more pitching depth than you have the outfielder depth.
True.
So you can move Fromber. I mean, there's still, like I said, I mean, you talked about Gusto. I like Colton Gordon down there in AAA. You still have AJ Bluebaugh. That these kids can, you know, give these kids a look. I mean, Fromber, and with how ridiculously high these prices are for starting pitchers, especially, you know, like we all. I mean, a lot of the Astros fans kind of bagged on Fromber last year. That guy still had an ERA under 3.5. And and you know, the talk around them is because, you know, like I guess that he fell off in 2023, but you have 3 seasons of sub 3 ERA. His ERA last year in 2023 was like 3.45. This year it was like 2.5. I mean, that could get you a haul to build your minor league system around. So I agree. I think you have, and I think it's Fromber's the guy that you have to move.
Yeah, because the day, like, you know, we let these, I should say we let them, these players leave and we get nothing in return. You know,
tough.
I mean, so I agree. I like that point of moving Fromber because you have to do something with your farm system. It is it's terrible. It's a joke, right? Like it's not one of the best ones, and so we have to rebuild it because eventually, I mean, our cornerstones aren't going to be here forever. I mean, we all know that, right? And so you can't continue to overspend and spend and spend and spend. You know, you have to build from within, which is what this team is good at doing. And it's what is, you know, so we have to. I like the moving Fromber and get something back for him.
And we're going to be in contention. The one thing you got to keep in mind too, though, is what we're going to have on the IL. I mean, are all these guys that we've had sitting back there injured and hurt, are they going to be ready to go and contribute? And when they are ready to go and contribute, what is that going to look like? So it's going to be a sticky situation. I mean, I definitely like the idea, especially like all of you said, rebuilding the minor league system by making a move and something like that, knowing that we're not going to be able to, you know, punch his ticket for the next 6 years and however many millions of dollars he's going to want. But at the same time, it's, if we let him go, is it going to be to the point where we have an all minor league, you know, starting 5, or are we going to have these guys that we've been counting on coming out of injury back up?
Yeah.
What do you think and I know we're going to cut it out here in a few minutes with you, but you got the Lance McCullers deal. What is going on? I understand. I mean, we know what's going on, right? But like, what's going on with that thing? I mean, I know he's a barista now, or barista owner.
He's got that secret contract with HEB. I think that's true. What it is.
It's just
I've been so salty about Lance McCullers. I'm like, if I hear another word about damn coffee in left field, like I'm sorry, man. Like, and you know, I hate to say that because a couple seasons ago, we were able to get him on the show during spring training. I mean, he's the guy that when he's healthy, when he's able to contribute, he's the guy that you want out there pushing your guys. But it's just 5 years, 85 million. From a fan, I think we have a right to be frustrated with it because, we're the ones that pay the ticket prices. We buy the jerseys, we buy the hats, we buy the merchandise, the gate sales, the tickets is what really helps. That gate money is what helps fund those players' salaries. And it's just frustrating. I mean, I'm sure Lance is more frustrated than anybody else. But at the end of the day, I don't know. Like, honestly, if he contributes in the bullpen, good. If he doesn't, whatever. I'm just literally at the kind of IDK part of his career.
Well, I think that's Chris. I mean, I'll let Chris go, but that's what Chris's not goal, but that's what his take on it is, right, Chris? Like, look, if he can be a serviceable guy out of the bullpen,
yeah, I mean,
that's kind of where he's at.
Bullpen guy, yeah.
There you go. I mean, like, I would rather him throw 45 innings in a season than as a reliever than 26 as a starter. I mean, that's where I see it. Like, I don't see any room for him in the rotation right now. Not until he can prove he can stay healthy.
And you know how many minor league guys that I've talked to that said, I'm a starter, but I would rather be a big league relief pitcher than a minor league starter. They all say that.
Really?
If Lance wants to pitch again, he needs to be in the bullpen, and they need to quit with. Sometimes the Astros kind of acquiesce, I think, too much to the players, and I don't like that. But then again, I've never run a multi-billion-dollar company, and I've never managed million-dollar athletes either. So it's a lot easier said on my part than done.
I think the other thing too is, like, I think you have, as a ball player, you probably have to really look deep inside and say, what can I do to lengthen my career, right? And I think that's probably where he needs to be. I mean, look, like you're talking about 2 surgeries on your arm. I mean, it's that's what's going to lengthen your career. Is you go to the pen and you just dominate, just like you did on the mound before you got hurt. So, Brett, we still good with you, man? Are we still good? You got
man. Yeah, man, we're good. No, we're good. I'm here as long as you'll have me, man.
Don't say that. We can do this for another 4 hours. We haven't even gotten to the Kevin Biggio yet.
Oh my gosh, we haven't.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to Kevin Biggio yet. So
so let me set this up for you. Let me set this up for you. So Chris, he's our resident homer. That's what I call him. A la the Dubon fan club. Now the Dubon fan club president is because of his dislike
affinity
for said player. Okay. However, he has 2 players that we have heard about all season long about the Astros, what the Astros should do. We'll start with Trevor Bauer.
I'm over 2 this season. Put it that way.
You're not doing so good. Now the Trevor Bauer thing is a whole other thing, right? But Chris gave us stats about the Mexican League all season. He tagged us in stuff on Twitter about look what he did.
When I fall, I fall hard.
Lawyer.
Look, he gets on the hill. I'll give him credit. When he gets on the hill, he's dying on that hill. I mean, he's going to do it.
I can respect that.
He's now accumulated a second hill. That second hill is Kevin Biggio. So when Kevin was, let go from Toronto.
Yep.
Right. Chris, you can go, but he was tooting his horn the whole time. Astros need to get him. Dodgers get him, obviously, right? So then, of course, me and Bryles, our phones start blowing up with the text, the pictures of the signing, and like, what are we doing? I mean, like, it was actually fantastic for me because it's funny, right? For Chris, not so much. So when the offseason comes, he's like, well, the Dodgers let go of Kevin, right? And I say, well, look, man, typically teams don't let go of players that are really good. So he's been to 2 teams. This season, he's like, well, but, he hits good. He hits good at Minute Maid, the juice box. And all jokes aside, right? What's your overall thought on Kevin Biggio? And Chris, I think now that I told you can talk and I have not let you talk, you can go ahead and finish.
No, I appreciate it.
With your theory on Kevin Biggio and what it could do for the Astros.
I mean, my thing is like, can he do any worse than Greg Kessinger? He could play first base, third base. I think he could play second base too. He could play both the corner outfields. Now, I get it. I get it. He's been DFA'd by 3 teams this season. I get it. I totally get it. However, I mean, if you can bring this guy on a minor league deal, and then let's say you bring him up, the amount of marketing just having Biggio on that team that could bring in, I'm just saying, like, now again, what would probably happen? He would get signed, he'd hit 208. We'd probably DFA him or send him back down to the minors. That's probably what would happen. But if we could just have Biggio on this team, and let's say he hits 230, that 220 average, that's higher than Chas McCormick, that's higher than Pedro Leon, that's about close to where Jake Myers hit. I mean, so that's 3 guys that were had significant playing time. I'm just saying, I think it'd be cool. And it's not like it's going to cost you 20 million a year. It's probably going to be on a minor league deal. Why not? Why not kick the tires? What's the worst that could happen? He could go off. That's my point.
Yeah. And I mean, I can see the reason he could be a low risk, high reward. I mean, some of his critics would say low risk, low reward. If you look at like where he is, in 2023, actually 2024, he had his lowest walk percentage at 10.7%. He has hit a WRC plus of 115 and 122 and 19 and 20 when he came up at 24 and 25. He is your aging, um, you know, kind of serviceable quadruple A player, right? And does what he bring to the table, is it valuable enough? Like you said, if it's to fill a spot for Gray Kessinger,
Yeah, that's what I'm
why
saying. I'm
not?
not saying he's going to play third base over Bregman.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
yeah.
see what happens, and then like if you hit a lull in the season, or maybe you need to raise some ticket prices. Maybe you do a father son, throw out the first pitch, do bobble or father son bobblehead giveaway. I mean, like really, I should probably do
look,
marketing as well.
as long
Well,
as Jeff
that's because
Bagwell, as long as Jeff Bagwell didn't get one of his daughters to play for the team, I would be okay with it. But
I think you just want to add to your bobblehead collection, Chris. That's solely why you want Kevin Biggio there. That's it. I think that's it.
Why don't we just do a bobblehead with both father son? Like, why don't we go back to the 2000 or the 3000 hit where like he hugs Kevin,
There, see.
There you go. I mean, I'm cool with that too.
So
I
Kevin,
think,
and who was the other question?
shoot.
Bauer.
No. Bauer.
Yeah, I
Bauer.
mean, but Bauer wasn't going to happen. That was just more of a pipe dream.
That was a big
pipe
yeah,
dream.
big pipe dream.
Well,
It was just
and I've actually talked to some former major league players, not guys that played with him, but guys that have played in the league. And if this guy really did have that stuff that teams were missing, and he really wasn't, I mean, I think his clubhouse, the way he was, I mean, I will never forget him launching the ball from the mound.
Yeah, Tito
from the outfield.
from Tito.
in Cincinnati, right?
Right, which is sad because the guy's terribly cerebral. He's extremely intelligent. He knows it. He's very arrogant. He's got a lot of the egocentrism you want in your professional athletes. And it's not even about stuff he did or didn't do legally or not, charge or whatever. It's not even about that. It's just, I think overall he would be a clubhouse cancer. And he doesn't, like, I don't think he's learned. Like he's not more humble. If he had been more humble and maybe he is, maybe my take on him is skewed. But if he loves baseball, I mean, if it were me, I would be in Korea, or I would go back to Korea. I would try to the Japanese league again and do that stuff. But I think he's blackballed. I think no matter what he does, no matter what he says, MLB's put the kibosh on it. And when a league does that, there's no coming back from it.
Well, and that's kind of that was kind of my argument, right? Was it doesn't matter what he's doing. He could probably tear it up in Korea, whatever, but it's the PR for any club that brings him on.
Yeah.
And we don't want another Taubman, right? Like another Taubman type situation, or Osuna, right? I mean, we've already been kind of down that road before. It's just a nightmare for the club. And I don't think any club's going to want it. So
Right.
and I agree. Like I said, if his stuff's still that good, then I think someone would at least because it's a low risk contract. It's the league minimum. You just bring him in, and it's a prove it deal, right? So not a lot of risk for the club other than PR and
Yeah,
the image, which is a huge thing, right?
and I just think Crane I just still think as long as he's owner, they're not going to touch anything like that with a 10-foot pole. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why they brought in Dusty Baker. And I don't think anybody, all the criticism he got, nobody could have weathered the storm the way Dusty Baker did. And he played a huge crucial role in Astros history in being able to take that on because no one was going to mess with him. He was beyond scrutiny. You couldn't scrutinize him. He wasn't
Right.
a part of it. And that was probably his greatest strength coming into the situation. And then I think I would literally, and not bragging, but I think I was literally the only person that wrote about it that year was he was going to be their X factor in the playoffs. And the way he managed that bullpen and the way he managed that roster in the playoffs in 2022 was a masterful performance. Now, has he done that any other time in playoffs? Not so much, but that year he was a big part of that because his decisions helped them win that World Series, I think.
No, I agree. I agree 100%, man. It it's just wild that you think about how many clubs that dude managed and how many good teams he had that that he was finally got his first one with us. I mean, it was. I mean, and I mean, it was like 50 years in the league between player and coach. I mean,
Yeah.
older more years than I've been alive, right? In the big leagues. So
Is that true?
that is very true.
Let's make sure.
That's very true. I'm not.
My grandfather was
Not
at
yet.
the game. So my grandfather was at the game that Hank Aaron broke the record. And so he was there. Dusty Baker was on deck
Yeah.
whenever that happened. So I actually have a really small mini bat, Atlanta Braves mini bat from the stadium from that game that he had gotten. It's got Atlanta Braves burned into the bat. It's an old wooden bat. Remember, my dad gave it to me when I was little and told me kind of the story. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of always known about who Dusty Baker was because my
Yeah.
grandfather was a big fan of the Braves and stuff like that.
Man, that's awesome. Like, that's awesome.
I don't have anything cool like that.
No.
I have a poster from what's the card show that comes every year? The TriStar from 1996.
Oh, there you go. All these back here. I've got Ted Williams. I've got Warren Spahn. I've got a ball signed by King Griffey Jr. and Sr. on the Sweet Spot, all TriStar shows. Thank you, Mr. Rosen. I got to actually meet him recently. I've got Barry Sanders on that Lions helmet.
Yeah, I saw the Lions helmet there.
I've got Akeem Olajuwon, Akeem the Dream, and then over here I started a little bat collection.
Yeah.
I've got an Altuve game issued bat, a Yainer Diaz signed game used bat, Kyle Tucker autograph bat, and then a Yainer Diaz model autograph bat, and then a game issued Yainer Diaz mask from his first Major League home run game in Chicago on Mother's Day. He didn't wear, but I couldn't pass it up. The price was too good. But yeah, that's just kind of that's the tip of the iceberg here. And
yeah, seeing those bats, like, man, I don't know. I might have to start taking some fun about the kids' Christmas.
You gotta step your game up, Chris.
Well, I found that bat right there, that the bat on the bottom, the Yainer Diaz. It says game used. He signed it. I've got a picture of him signing the bat sitting above it. That bat was $300 on eBay. In the gift shop or in the authentic store, you can pay at least $800 for that bat. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, you can start by selling me that 1997 Houston Astros division champ bobblehead that you have.
That's not happening. No, I've been looking at getting into, like, I want to start doing the frame jerseys and stuff, and then, like, I see the prices and I'm just like, oh man.
Take bobbleheads it is.
Bobbleheads it is. Man. These kids are keeping me in check.
Well, look, man, if you want to get your jerseys framed, this is kind of a free plug for them, but Fitterman Sports has the best prices. They do the best job. Above me is a Russell Diamond Collection St. Louis Cardinals Mark McGwire jersey that he signed in 1998 when he was chasing the home run. When him and Sosa were in the home run derby, and in the bottom left corner is the Astros magazine from the inaugural season, April 2000. Mark McGwire's first home run at Minute Maid Park. He signed that program, and it's got Billy Wagner, Craig Biggio, and Jeff Bagwell on the front.
Good
But
Lord.
it's signed by Mark McGwire, and that was framed by them. And I've got a Garrett Cole picture that was framed by him in a Nationals uniform that was framed by Fitterman Sports. So like Fitterman Sports is a place to go, and they all like Black Friday sales, dude. When they like be looking at Fitterman Sports for Black Friday deals, they do like sometimes they'll drop their prices to half. If you've got a jersey, just send it to them. They do the best job. So you just got to find where it's cheap, man. I don't spend an arm and a leg on stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only framed pictures I have are my kids' little league pictures.
And they look great. And they look great, by the way.
That's great. Hey,
I don't know what those are.
Well, my favorite baseball out of all these is my son's walk-off single. He hit the walk-off single for off of Eli Harrelson. He's one of the starting pitchers for our local high school. So I was like, "Hey, son, you got to walk off.
You got to walk off.
Yeah.
You made
made the wall.
You made the wall, made the shelf.
So,
well, Brett, man, I really appreciate you coming on, man. This has been a lot of fun. Just,
man.
Chopping it up with you. Hope we get you back on soon if you're good with that.
No, yeah, definitely. And, we'll definitely have you guys on. I don't know if we could have all four of you guys on at one time, but, man, we'll definitely get you in the mix here with Locked on Astros. But, hey, continued success. And y'all are watching this. Like, you just stumbled upon this. Like, I know our show people stumble upon all the time. Make sure you subscribe to these guys' channels. Support them. You see them online. You see them in public. Pat them on the back. Y'all doing a great job. Y'all got a great format. You guys know your stuff. So you guys definitely got a hot start going. You go back and watch some of my first videos on YouTube. Woo, there's a lot to be desired there, boys. There's a lot to be desired.
Yeah, our first episode, like I said, PK was in his truck. I was in the bathroom. You can hear the echo. I wasn't using the bathroom, but it was just like we got on, and that at first, like I was like, man, I'm ready to rock and roll. And then we hit record, and I was like, oh my god, this is the craziest thing. Why am I doing this? And then we just started getting into it, and then we had to teach we've had to learn like the dummies way to try to like edit and stuff like that. And again, we look at like sometimes like I when I watch your show, it's just like, man, their stuff looks so much better than ours. And it's just like it's like I feel like when I do ours, we're at like the Dollar Tree. And
I'll show you this. You mentioned that. Let me show you this before we go. I still have it. When I started doing my own podcasting around 2017, this was the mic that I had. This was my first mic. This thing, it has an on and off switch. It has an echo switch and a volume. This is the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know. If you want to, I don't know. You want to see my mic? Or look, Chris can show his mic, so we have the same one.
Well, I'm just saying, I've gone from this to this, and this and this. This was my podcast right here.
Yeah,
my
that's
phone
what
and my
do.
mic. And I keep this as a reminder because it reminds me of how things started. And it all comes down to hard work, comes down to dedication, and it comes down to being good to people. And you do those three things, everything will fall into place.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
I agree. Well, thanks again, man, for coming on.
Yeah, definitely.
Chris hit the outro.
All right, give me a second. See, I told you we practice.
Look, we had this nailed down right until you came on.
Literally, I've been sitting here since like 6:30. Like, okay, we're gonna ball out, and I have my chance to shine, and that's why
we're not your local experts. That's exactly why.
Professional.
That's okay. Mickey's Story will be glad to see you next week. It's AAA.
Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, for listening, for watching. Brett, thanks again, man. It's been a pleasure to have you on and just chop it up with somebody new. We will reconvene, I guess, next week for our normal podcast, everybody. Everybody make sure to please go check out Locked on Astros and Back to the Bullpen. Find them on Twitter, H-Town Wheelhouse. I'm PK. That's Chris. That's Bryles. H-Town Wheelhouse is here with us. Thank you, sir. We'll talk to y'all later. Go Stros.
All right, there we go.
Awesome.
Ugh.
Yeah, man. Thank you.